So Eduardo, let's start from the beginning for your career. Forget all the NBA games you played in, all the playoff games you won. You're 14 years old, 6'8", throwing a baseball at 80 miles an hour. Your focus is wanting to become a baseball player. How'd basketball get in the mix there, and how'd you become a pro basketball player?
That's a great question, Mikey. My father was a baseball player. He was a good one too. I remember seeing him play multiple times when I was a kid. I tried to follow his footsteps. However, when I was 14, I grew about 8 inches in one summer. So I'm a July kid. So when I turned 15, I was already 6'8", living in Mexico, squeezing my 16 size shoe into a 12. And obviously, when I went to my freshman year in high school, it's a little different in the US. At 15, I was going into my freshman year, trying out for a baseball team. And by the way, that's how you get accepted to the school. You know, if you have some sort of talent with athletics, they give you an opportunity to go to school there. So it was a pretty high-end school that I went to. However, the baseball coach literally just looked at me as a giant, of course, at 6'8", living in Mexico, and he was 5'5", 5'6". So he said, I don't even want you to try out. You're not good for baseball. You're too tall and too slow. And he suggested that I try out for basketball. Now, I did play basketball growing up. I play all sports, of course, but basketball came easier for me. I'm the youngest of five brothers, and I used to just kick their butt in the basketball court to the point there was a lot of fist fights. However, I never played organized basketball. I never played growing up. I was never a part of a team. When I went from baseball to basketball, then I fit in. It was just an environment that was there that I didn't know. There was a lot more guys my size that were always into the game of basketball, but I was a rookie, and I don't even think I could walk and whistle at the same time back then when I was 15. But it took a lot of work, a lot of dedication. But the key was that when I was 15, a coach literally killed my dreams as a baseball player, but it also gave me the opportunity to migrate somewhere else. And I grew the passion for the game of basketball at 15 years old.
You know, at the time, I'm not sure how big basketball was in Mexico. You could fill me in on that, but what were your parents and people at back home feeling about your basketball decision?
My dad didn't really support my decision to continue with basketball. My mom did. However, moms, they're always great. They always support their child no matter what they do, and that's what a mother is supposed to do. My brothers and sisters, they didn't really know my ability. They didn't really see it at the beginning. However, when I got to the University of Oklahoma, and it took me a lot of work, a lot of discipline and consistency in my game. But that's when my family and friends, because I did have a lot of people out of Mexico not believing that I had the talent to even play at a college level. So there was a lot of people hating on me, hating on my game more so than anything. And they, coaches, for the most part, they thought that I was going to be back in Mexico playing in the professional league. But I never doubted myself. And eventually my dad kind of started opening up his mind to basketball. And once he saw that I was pretty good, then he was mentoring me, on the basketball court, outside the basketball court. So they were part of all the decisions that I've made throughout my career. And then I also had great teammates and great coaches throughout my years that they also supported me, friends that, they encouraged me to stay with it. As a Mexican kid migrating to the US, it was not easy. Every moment I wanted to go back to the thing that is most comfortable for me, which was going back to my country. But there was a lot of people that supported me. I cannot sit over here and say it was all me. It wasn't. I got the best from my coaches. I got a lot of support from my family and my friends in Mexico and the US.
So then you're a star at Oklahoma. You know, you led them to the NCAA tournament 4 straight times. Then it happens. Eduardo Najera, 38th overall pick by the Houston Rockets. Then you're traded to Dallas in the 2000 draft. And of course, first Mexican player drafted in NBA history. Take me back to that day of being drafted and all of the emotions that you went through.
I was a little upset that I went to the second round, to be honest. I thought that my game was pretty good. I proved that I dominated the college level. However, you know, we went through that transition. The NBA started going younger, and they started kind of seeing the younger kids. And now you see it even more so because the NBA teams, they want to get a hold of that talent and teach them at a young age rather than go through college and then you have to still teach them. So it kind of, in 2000, it kind of went that way. So they started overlooking the older guys coming out of college. But at the end of the day, you know, the draft was a great thing, a great process. It was a lot of emotions because I knew that I had finally accomplished one of the first steps that I had in mind, which was getting drafted. I didn't really care for the plays that I got selected at because the fact is the draft only tells you where you start your NBA career. And that was my mindset. So as soon as they called my name, I mean, obviously we had a draft party. I was excited. I was crying. I was, you know, full of emotions. But at the same time, I was cognizant of the process that I was about to start. And to be honest, I did it for so many years. I mean, high school, I started from right on the bench, same in college. I mean, I wasn't playing as much. And I knew that when I got to the NBA, I had to work my butt off and fight for a spot on the roster. Luckily, I went to the right team, a team that was full of international players, which was the Dallas Mavericks. And that made my transition easier. And, you know, I had an ego just like any other NBA player. I felt that I could score, I could do so many things, but at the same time, I was smart enough to figure out that the things that the Mavericks needed was the defensive presence, the rebounding, the toughness, and the tenacity, and that's where I kind of concentrate on. And as a result, I ended up making the team and having a long career.
And of course, you're a superstar back home in Mexico. What have you done for the entire country of Mexico to bring basketball over there and kind of let kids, you know, have their future and become the next Eduardo Najera?
I believe that I did not answer your question earlier. However, basketball was not as popular when I was 15, when we're talking about my background. The sport of basketball went through a rough time for the last 10, 15 years. The NBA finally kind of started globalizing the game of basketball. And Mexico has been a big market for the NBA, and they have done a great job in our country to the point that has become the second sport that is played in the country of Mexico. Is becoming very, it has opened up the eyes for boys and girls. What have I done? Everything that I can. When I had an opportunity, and I have sponsorships, and I had people asking me to be a part of a professional league. But at the end of the day, we went through a rough time for 10, 15 years. So we lost a lot of talent. So I think, and what I did was created a youth league and start from the grassroots and start the right way. Concentrating on fundamentals and values. Fundamentals of the game, the regulations, what's needed to play the sport, but also values as teamwork, discipline, commitment, the values that will help boys and girls get through anything in life. We started this basketball league, and my vision was I'm going to use my name, my time, and my money to run it. I did that with one objective: to find the next Eduardo Najera or the next girl that can participate in the WNBA. We start from the bottom, and the worst that could happen is we have a better level of basketball and they can represent our national team. That's exactly what I provided with the help of one sponsor and myself. And he ended up taking over the league. But we had about 50,000 boys and girls from ages 8 all the way to 18 at one point. And it was big for me to even be involved, but we had a company that basically took over, and that's what we created. We created a platform for these kids to practice and to develop as athletes. And guess who played in my basketball league? Jorge Gutierrez. He's the one that made it to the NBA. I wish there was more. There wasn't, but there was multiple boys that play in the Najera League back then. Now is the Telmex League is the name of it. Multiple players play in my league that has represented our country internationally, and that was my goal. So I was happy with that. They still have the league, which I'm very happy that I kind of set up a foundation, and they continue promoting basketball. Now they're teaming up with the NBA. The NBA is heavily invested, especially in Mexico City. I wonder why. Perhaps maybe an NBA team will be coming down there in the near future. But at the same time, the NBA has done a great job with the synergy they created with other companies down there, and they're just promoting basketball. And so hopefully we'll find more Mexican-born players that can compete in the NBA or the WNBA. There is a couple girls that went into my league that also play college ball, and I'm really proud of them because, again, I provided a platform for them so they can stay active, practice this beautiful sport, and also create an opportunity for themselves. And if it is finishing up college, I'm okay with that. That's a success.
And you mentioned that you would like to see an NBA franchise in Mexico. What can Mexico offer? And, what's the future of basketball in Mexico?
Mexico offers about 2.2 to 2.5 million NBA fans. We have small markets like San Antonio, Milwaukee. When you have a big market, you have TV, you have big corporations. Mexico City, I like to compare it to New York City. That's where the big corporations are, and they also have they know the importance of the community, and I think that it would work. That's what Mexico City offers. I believe that we have the arena set up already. We just need one of these guys to write a check for the franchises. I've been pushing for that for a long time. However, the price tags of an NBA franchise has gone through the roof. So I don't know whether somebody would do it. Perhaps the NBA, perhaps all the owners in the NBA see the importance of that market in Mexico City, and maybe they make it happen. But the first step is kind of there. A G League team is going to be the foundation. I think they're going to try to test the market, the demographics. I've seen them. They can support a G League team for certain, and perhaps an NBA team, but it's still uncertain territory. So we'll see. I'm excited about it. I see that the NBA has created academies in Mexico City along with the government, and those are also a big plus. They open a big store in the best area of Mexico City, so they are investing or heavily invested in that market. I don't want to say that's what they're leaning towards, but I believe that now they know the importance of that market, and hopefully they'll make it happen because it'll galvanize the entire country. When I look at Toronto, when I look at the Raptors, I look at Canada, and they bring the entire country together. That's what I see in Mexico City, and it'll be the coolest thing, and hopefully it'll happen in my lifetime.
Who are some of the Mexican-born players and Mexican players in the NBA who you're most proud of?
There's a few now. When I play, unfortunately, there was no Mexican-born players present. Although my last year, which was kind of going downhill, Gustavo Yon into the NBA, but I never had a chance to share the basketball court. But if I have to start, I mean, the most talented player in Mexico was Horacio Llamas. Llamas was the first Mexican-born player to touch the NBA, and he was one of my mentors growing up. I believe I was at the University of Oklahoma when I witnessed this guy play in Houston against Hakeem Olajuwon. He was 7 feet tall. Back then, he was 280 maybe, and he was very talented. Unfortunately, he ran into a lot of knee problems, and as a result, he had a short career in the NBA. But he's a guy that I think he should have played longer and had a better career than any of us. Gustavo Ayon, kind of the same scenario. He came late, but this guy was very talented. However, he couldn't adapt coming from Spain to the NBA. He ran into a shoulder injury. And you know how it is. When you don't win ball games, the NBA or the teams are always going to try to replace you. And that was the case with Gustavo Ayon. He got traded multiple times within a year, played for Orlando, played for New Orleans, Milwaukee, and then he ended up going back to Europe, unfortunately. And then the guy that I'm a big fan is Jorge Gutierrez. He was the latest one. I believe that he had the mental, the discipline. Unfortunately, he just didn't have the ability to stay in the NBA. But he's got a great career. But these guys have been incredible for basketball in Mexico. And, they're the ones. Horacio opened the doors to the NBA, and we follow. But I'm just proud. But at the same time, I'm proud to have a long career and a better career than these guys in the NBA. But at the same time, I'm sad that they didn't stay in the NBA longer than they should have. But as a result, hopefully there's more and more to come, and maybe Horacio, myself, Gustavo, and Jorge can mentor all the Mexican kids when they make it to the NBA, so they can not just make it, stay and have a long career.